I love The Office. I haven't really watched much of the US Office, but the UK Office was just hugely influential for me.
Did it influence in any way Here We Go?
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, yeah, of course, in as much as like after The Office, I guess the Office wasn't the first to do this, because there were shows like People Like Us, the John Morton show a few years earlier, which was a kind of mockumentary style show, which is, if you've not seen it, that's a brilliant show. But certainly The Office was the first really huge sitcom to do this, where it kind of took that mockumentary style thing from like, Spinal Tap or something, and did it in the TV show. And then you have loads and loads of shows doing it afterwards. To the extent that if you watch Modern Family or Parks and Recreation or something like that, it's not really a mockumentary after a while. They just put the camera wherever they want. They basically do it like a fourth wall sitcom, but people are allowed to look at camera. But when I came to do Here We Go, I'd actually just a year or two before that, I'd made a pilot for BBC Studios, which didn't get picked up. But I really liked it, and it was about a TV presenter, and the style of the show was this idiot presenter talking to camera, and then you have bits of like the show, bits of real footage for the show, and then loads of behind the scenes where he's trying to control what the cameraman's seeing, and the cameraman's talking to him, and the producer's there, and you have an interaction between the camera and the character, and I really liked that. And so when I came to kind of think about a family sitcom, I wanted to keep that style so that the person filming is a character in the show. Because I think what happens in mockumentary format a lot of the time is that people just are asked to forget that the camera's there, or that the camera's being held by anybody, even though that is intrinsic to the format. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of be a bit more honest with it, and have the person holding the camera able to comment on what's happening, and the people in front of the camera, ask not to be filmed, or to tell someone to go and do something else, or get out of the room, whatever it might be. So like, I guess I wanted to go back to something with the mockumentary that felt a bit more truthful.
Look, I've watched Here We Go.
Well, you're in Here We Go. Of course, you've watched it. You've watched it up close. You've seen it being shot.
Yeah, it was an amazing half a day on set.
Was it only half a day?
As any actor, we all want more and more and more, but it was fun. I mean, I gotta say, I wasn't sure if I know what I'm doing. Because this I don't know if it happens to you, but for myself, when I watch myself on screen,
yeah,
I'm rarely happy with what I see.
Did you say you're really happy, or you're rarely happy?
Rarely.
Okay, right. Yeah, I don't like watching myself. I mean, with something like Here We Go, I have to, because it's my show, so I'm in the edit and I'm watching it all the time. But like, if I had the choice, I'd probably, I often don't really want to watch myself afterwards. There's a lot of stuff I've made that I've never seen for that reason. I just don't really want to. Mm-hmm. I don't really want to know what I did, particularly with stuff where, as you say, on the day you're like, is it that? I don't know. And the director isn't really saying brilliant or terrible. It's just like, yeah, fine. Or, you're just short on time. So it's like, that'll do.
Yeah. And you like, when you think like, okay, this was an all right take. I think I finally got it. I think I finally know what to do, but let's do another one. Oh, we're moving. Okay.
Yeah.
So with Here We Go, I mean, like, I hope I followed direction, and my friends said it was funny.
It was great. It was definitely, I hope that wasn't the sort of, underlying purpose of this podcast, to reassure you that you were really good in the show.
Of course. I started this podcast a year and a half ago for this particular moment.
So it was great. It was great. But look, I think, you know what? I think that is like, unfortunately, I think sometimes people don't realize it's going to be like that if they haven't done a lot of filming before, particularly sitcoms, on a tight budget.
Yeah.
It's such a scramble. You're always right against the clock, and like, just when you've got it, you think you've got something that could be good, often you have to move on. That's the case for pretty much everything I've worked.
Now, to be fair, with Here We Go, I think we've had quite a few takes, and we had enough time, like with this particular scene. So I don't.
Yeah, the thing I love about Here We Go in terms of how we shoot it is that because it's only really one camera angle, you're just getting loads of takes of the same thing. You're not cutting to reactions and cutting to other sizes of shot and whatever it might be, which does make problems in the edit later. But when you're shooting it, you really can just focus on getting that, making it funny at the time, rather than I think what can happen with a lot of sitcom when you're kind of shooting it from lots of different angles or getting loads of different coverage, is that you think to yourself, well, none of that was funny, but we can get into the edit and just chop it up and make it funny. And sometimes you can, but sometimes you really can't.
But to be fair, with that particular scene, like I didn't have a lot of interactions with you guys. I was mostly concentrated on this gherkin can.
That's good though. You were in character. That was the point.
Of course, no, because I really tried to open it. But the thing is that when I watched it later, first of all, obviously I watched myself. I'm like, no. But then I watched there was so much happening around me, so much funny stuff that doesn't have anything to do with me. And Catherine's character, like she was amazing. They're like, ooh, ah. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. But my point, basically, I watched all of it, and I gotta say, it is a comedy, and I really love the characters. But I think you are nailing drama as well, pretty well, because you almost got me in tears with the mother-daughter relationship there in the series, because I think it was the very end of the first season when she lets her go to, to this journey. And just in general, there are all those things that I think it is very family friendly, but it's also kind of family friendly. I really loved it. I really love the relationships, and I really hope there will be more of that. Like, anything else? Like, what did inspire you to do that? Because it does feel real. Do you draw on the real time, life experiences when you're writing it?
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of thinking about my own childhood. I guess I sort of see myself as a bit as Sam, the kid who's filming it, and feel like that was slightly my relationship with my own family, just sort of, a little bit on the outside watching. But also, Paul and Rachel are very much characters that are sort of based on parts of my personality and things that I've done, like stupid things that I've done, or bits of, when you catch yourself being a bit kind of selfish or self-important, that kind of thing. It's like, those are the moments that you want to find a way to turn it into sitcom, because it'll be quite revealing and quite funny. So yeah, it's all the characters have sort of come from my life a bit, people I've known, or sort of elaborations on things I've known. I think feeling truthful is really important. But again, like going back to the distinction between comedy and drama, like I agree with you. Like a lot of the best comedies make me cry. Like if I watch a Chaplin film or some of The Office, whatever it might be, these things will often make me cry. And dramas, things that are like officially meant to be dramas, often emotionally do nothing to me. Particularly if there's like, a detective looking for a murderer, or a doctor trying to save someone in a hospital, which is, most drama on TV is one of those two things. They don't do anything for me emotionally. Like I kind of care because I want to know the answer. It's like you set up a puzzle of like, well, who did it in episode 1? And then I sort of want to know what's happened. But like in terms of any kind of emotional connection, it's often none at all. It's just a game. And in comedy, something that's, not meant really, it doesn't have to have any kind of emotional strings kind of pulling at you. I often find that those are the shows that really get to me, that really kind of choke me up, is when I feel like there's something very recognizable or very kind of human that's happening, and it's just really nicely done.
do you write it all by yourself? Because we were talking about sitcoms, American sitcoms as well before, and there's like whole writing table. There's like whole group of writers. Do you do it yourself? Do you have people who turn to like to proofread it? And what's your process in general?
I've pretty much done it all myself. There was one episode in series 3 that two writers, Alex Owen and Ben Ashenden, who are in the sketch group The Pin, they wrote one episode of series 3. But I kind of gave them the storyline and ended up sort of, helping to redraft it. I mean, I think what I found in the past is like sometimes giving things to other writers can actually take more time than doing it yourself. But particularly with comedy, because it's so much about a style or a voice or a character, knowing a character or a group of characters, that it's easy for people just to not have the same insight or not be able to do it in the same way. So I've tended to write things on my own. Something like Plebs I wrote with the director Sam Leifer, so we would always write that together. And that was really fun. It was really fun writing with him. But we do have slightly different sensibilities. I think we find slightly different things funny. And so the show is a kind of, Plebs tonally is quite different to something like Here We Go or something like Party, which is a sitcom I wrote for radio. And I think you kind of feel the slight difference in tone that comes from two writers rather than one writer, or two perspectives rather than one. But yeah, I've always kind of found that like I'm happy working on my own. So I think some writers aren't. Some writers really need other people to bounce off, but I kind of like being on my own. I found it very useful talking through ideas with producers or people, anyone really, with my wife, anyone who'll listen. I might talk through ideas and sort of just to kind of go, do you think that's a funny idea? Do you think that could work? And that I found very useful. There was one episode of series 3 of Here We Go that I ended up almost completely rewriting very late in the day because I just felt in my bones that the story was wrong. And I was really kind of going around asking for that note. I was kind of saying to people, do you think this is okay? And they're like, yeah. And I'd be like, but okay. And I just wanted someone to say it's not good enough. And no one did, but I rewrote it anyway because I just knew that it wasn't.
Yeah, and are you happy with the final version of it?
Yeah, the final version is much better than it would have been. Yeah.
Have you figured out what was wrong?
Yeah, so this is episode 2 of series 3, and so in the final version it kind of ends with this surprise party, and it's kind of all about Paul ruining this surprise party, and in the early drafts it was about Paul and Rachel following this couple to a dogging site where they were kind of doing this. They were dogging. They were into dogging, which is having sex in the woods and cars and stuff. And I just sort of felt like, I don't know, I think it felt like I'd seen it before in other sitcoms. I've never seen it in real life. I don't know anyone who would do it in real life. And it just felt, and like I was saying to the BBC, is this okay? Am I allowed to do this? And they're like, yeah, you're allowed to do that. It's fine. Even pre-Watershed, you're allowed to do that story. But I just felt like it wasn't real. It wasn't truthful. Like I just felt like it wouldn't happen. And it was just like going back to what we were saying earlier, that maybe it would take the audience out of the reality of the show. It would kind of make them feel like it was too contrived or too unrealistic.
Too surreal.
Yeah, too surreal, or just like it was. You could feel the writing. Like that's the thing when you've kind of done a bad job, is if the audience can feel the presence of the writer and feel that the writer wants characters to say something and wants things to happen. So I ended up changing it for something that I think I just felt could happen and felt believable, and it's sort of lower stakes in a way, but I'm very glad it did. I think it works. It works well, and as it is in the finished episode.
We could talk about Here We Go for a long time, but I want to talk about other stuff. Just last thing about Here We Go. So last season we showed Marchin's big biceps. Maybe next season you don't know this about me, and I'm sure there is a story somewhere in it. I have huge calves.
Huge calves? But I could guess that about you. I wouldn't have thought there's any part of you that's particularly small.
No. When I say huge, like, you probably haven't seen anyone with such big calves, and it's a
Wow.
It's not even a blessing; it's really a curse. Maybe there is a story. Maybe Martian comes back, because actors who don't have a lot of work are shameless.
Right.
Anyways, it was a joke. Let's move on.
I feel like we can use your calves somehow. Even if we don't end up using your face, we can use your calves.
You know what? When I'm on set, I'm happy.